Welcome to the Mark Attwood Show, Adventures in a Cosmic Suit. Wow, this has been a crazy couple of weeks. My voice is nearly back. It's functioning. I've been off YouTube for 2 weeks. I've been off YouTube for 3 weeks out of the last 4. I don't know how. I don't know what platform you're watching this on, but if it is YouTube and you're not subscribed to my email list and you're not subscribed to Rumble and BitChute and you've not been to the markattwoodshow.com, you may well lose me again because I've already lost one channel on here. And they just seem to be picking random videos for no reason and ignoring all my appeals. And I've got 1 strike left, so I literally don't know how long this is going to last. So I'm just going to, for the sake of showing you, there's a couple of things I want to show you. Firstly, and it's very, very important you pay attention to this because so many of you don't seem to know how to do it. So I'm just going to show you, this is what the video looks like on YouTube. Underneath here, where that more button is there, that's where all the links are. Okay, so down here is the email list. This is a link actually to the live event that I've just launched. Very amazing. I'm just going to change screen so you can see this. Amazing how this has come together, this live event. I had a vision about this over a year ago, actually, and I couldn't be more pleased with the way it's come together. It's literally come together in the last 48 hours. And it's going to be November the 6th. It's at a secret venue in Manchester, England. I've seen people leave comments in the Telegram group about this already, saying, "Can you come to Devon?" No, we can't. Finding a venue to do something like this is not only extremely difficult because most venues don't want you there, but to do a show like this involves pulling lots of different people together, and it can't happen very often simply because of schedules, children, all that kind of stuff. So this really is a one-off event in Manchester. I'm calling it Adventures in a Cosmic Suit Live. I've got Ian Welch coming, Michael Feeley, Lucy Davis, Abby Wynn, Al Pisoni, and Elise G. Rogers. We're going to have lots of healing, lots of enlightenment, esoteric knowledge. We want to give you the tools to take away so that you can take something away that is useful. We're not just going to be going on about stuff and selling stuff. That's not what this is about at all. It's just going to be a magical day, basically. And I've got Elise come along to do some music. We've got food, hot food. They've got great food at the venue. And lots of bad jokes from me and Michael Feeley at the very least. But the details are here. The link is below the video. So please learn how to use the description beneath YouTube. Please make sure you're on the email list, most importantly. But please also go to Telegram, Rumble, BitChute, and subscribe to those channels because this really is a precarious platform for me. Right. Now, getting on with today's show. This episode is featuring one of my favorite people from the show who's on the live show. Welcome, Michael Feeley, episode number 5.
Thank you, and I'm extremely looking forward to the talk. So, and I'm looking forward to this as well, as I always do. So again, thank you, and nice to be here again.
It's always great to see you, and it's always the right time, when we do these things. So thanks for coming back. What do you want to cover today, Michael?
Sorry, Mark, you cut out on me then, sorry.
Can you hear me now? Because I changed microphones.
Yes, I can, yeah.
What do you want to cover today?
Well, I think over the last 4 episodes, I've kind of talked about sound, dimensions, timelines, matrices, the ancient world, religions. So I think really today is just going to be a free-for-all organic chat. If you see any gaps in what I haven't discussed in the last 4 episodes, if there's anything that you want to particularly ask or go into, or I'm just happy just to talk about anything really in relation to what we're not being told. So I think, I'm just happy to go wherever it goes today.
Okay, so let's start with the thing that I just said to you before this call. So I've mentioned on this show before that all these unlockings of knowledge are kind of like, to me, I see it's like a clock, and it's like the whole human race is grasping for truth and bits of knowledge about the past, the future, where we are now, what's really going on, and nobody has all the answers. And that's why it's interesting to do a show like this, because you pull in lots of different information. Now, you've been researching this for a long, long time, and you have stunning knowledge. But I'm thinking about the collective. For me, the collective, it feels to me like we are one consciousness. We are all fractals of God. We are all reflections of each other, and we are ascending. And it seems to me that we're just waiting for things to just click into the right place as a collective. I want to know what you think about that. And I'd like to know what you think about what Ascension looks like, because we have Ian Welsh was on the show the other week saying, right, the space arcs no longer, they were a backup plan, and we don't need those anymore because the light is beating the dark by a percentage that's greater than 75%, which is interesting. But I've got other people coming on saying they're pilots and they've been activated for the arcs and they're looking for them. And I've got other people saying if they were really the pilots, they wouldn't be allowed to say anything because it'd be too dangerous for them. And then you've got truthers all slagging each other off and saying that that person's dead, that person's a clone. What the f is going on, in your opinion?
In my opinion, there's many truth groups, many truth organizations who are really nowhere near where they should be in relation to arguments, in relation to Peter's right, Paul's wrong, because when you get to a certain level of spiritual maturity, you actually realize that this is many, many levels below that. And the problem you have with many, many truth groups, and I've said many times before, that they are separating themselves by futile arguments. And instead of coming together towards the collective and realizing that I may talk about UFO, I may talk about angels, I may talk about the jinn, I may talk about fairies, but in essence, you're talking about the same thing. So instead of concentrating and amplifying what's dividing you, concentrate on things that are unifying you, or what could potentially unify you. Because only then have you reached the spiritual maturity you need to call yourselves the flame bearers of truth. So that really is my opinion. There's far too many groups arguing amongst themselves. There's far too many religions arguing over lies. There's far too many people literally separating themselves and doing the job of the establishment for them. Because when you are unified, not divided, do you begin to come into this level of Trinity code, this level of spiritual maturity. So if you want to get anywhere, if you really do want to be the flame bearers of truth, then get a grip. Is really my point. Now, in terms of the collective, yes, we are all one. We are all reflections of each other. You know, when you really look at the shape of the diamond, the geometric shape of the diamond, that is the symbol of our task. Now, when you look at the pyramid pointing up, it is the higher self, the ascent to the higher self. When you look at the upside down triangle, upside down pyramid, it is the descent, it is the lower self. Now, when you put both of those component parts together, you get the diamond, which is the unification of the higher self and the lower self. And there's all of these ancient symbols, you see, because the ancients knew the things that we profess to be the finders of. You know, for argument's sake, in 1953, we had Crick and Watson who claimed that they discovered the double helix of DNA. Yet when I look at the Sumerian scrolls of many, many thousands of years ago, I see double helix mentioned in the Enki and Enlil, Shetai, the serpents, the serpent brothers, because they're talking about the double helix of DNA. One with a positive twist, one with a negative twist. So Crick and Watson didn't discover DNA helix. The Sumerians knew about that many, many times ago, many, many years, thousands of years ago. So we have to realize that there are certain things that they have left us to help us to advance. They are telling us that we're all part of the collective. They're telling us that we're all part of the same thing that is fragmented into many, many trillions of pieces in order to understand and learn and allow the creator itself to expand and to grow. You know, I mean, Thomas Nagel once said, he was a lecturer at New York University, he says words to the effect of, you can understand every workings of the brains of a bat, but never know what it's like to be a bat. Well, how could you unless you've been a bat? So how can you be a perfected creator if you've never experienced creation? So we are all part of the collective that will one day return back to the original thought, that created everything that we're now experiencing. So what does ascension look like? There's many different ways. Ascension really means to rise up. And there's many different ways in which to do that. Some people do meditation, some people do breath techniques, some people go and sit on a mountain in Tibet and have no connection at all to humanity. Some people have a thirst for knowledge, like me, and we all have our different routes there. You know, we all get on different trains, but we all go to Euston at some point. So ascension really is the development of self. Ascension is really to initiate yourself to be able to tolerate the undiluted higher frequencies that come in. And when you start to expand yourself, expand your mind, expand your body, expand your nerve endings, open the chakras, which are really octaves that correspond to the sounds of the universe. When we do all of these things by the different mechanisms which we have available to us, and one doesn't suit all. So when we do that, when we expand ourselves and we allow these higher frequencies and this higher knowledge to come into us, that to me is the ascension. And you don't have to go anywhere to achieve ascension. You don't have to go into the cosmos and find 13 crystal skulls or anything else. You can do that from here. So really what we need to do as a humanity, as a growing race, as an infantile race in many respects, is to become adult, is to get a grip and work together. And all of the people who claim to have all of this wonderful knowledge, who are separating humanity with that knowledge, then they really are no better than those who are keeping this sacred knowledge from people. And they really do need to unify instead of separate. And that is my take on it. And until they become spiritually mature enough, then I don't listen to them, in all fairness.
Yeah, it's interesting. You used the term "get a grip" a couple of times there. I've used that a couple of times in the last week with a few people. I've had a few fallings out with a few people recently because I try to support everybody as much as I possibly can. It's incredible. When I look back in the last 2 years, the amount of people that I've supported in some way has been amazing, and I'm very pleased with that. But I remember I did a horse whispering course. And one of my weaknesses is that I got put into this stable with a horse. And as soon as the person left the stable, the first thing I did was I just reached down for the straw and I kept feeding the horse with the straw. And the woman who was running the course came in about half an hour later. And she said this line to me. She said, "Sometimes when you give, you take away." And that took me a while to understand. Because I just try to help everybody, right? So my big lesson has been about discernment and boundaries. And you know, I've seen a lot of people coming from a place of fear, right, and manifesting the wrong stuff. You know, like there's a lot of people out there that think the answer to everything, that's terrible things are coming over the horizon, and we need to be growing our own vegetables, and that's the answer. And I'm like, well, not really, because I know that really, really good things are coming. I just know it. I've always known it. I've known it my whole life. I'm an apocalyptic optimist. I'm an optimist. And yeah, there are going to be scary things coming over the hill, or things that look scary, but they're not. It's theatre in order to get us through this process, right? So I've waffled a little bit there, but there's things going around the internet at the moment, like there's a guy called Jetson White who I admire, and he's put out a video recently saying that the Rapture event is happening, and he's given it a date, September the 3rd. What do you think about that?
I think people are, again, in my own opinion, are foolish to give dates. Because when you give a date, you are going to look a fool. Because when you see how potential futures are fluid and they are changing, and what we deem to be the future is purely based upon what we do now, but the now is also a fluid. So you are forever chasing the now, because when the now arrives, it's gone just as quick, and it's a new now. So when you start giving specific dates, you are inevitably going to be wrong, because what is 2023 can soon become 2022, can soon become 2025, can soon become 2027. So what you have to do is just go with it. And like you, I know good things are coming. I've looked back in different timelines. We've already won this one. It's not a problem. And when you look at fear really is the unknown. And when you know, then there's no fear, because humans have always feared what they don't know. So that is what fear is, you know. And what I'm finding as well in the many people that I speak to is there's now becoming a clear definition between the spiritually mature, higher vibrating beings. And I speak to many healers, I speak to many counselors, I speak to many coaches, I speak to many people in the different disciplines. And what is really striking to me is now that there's a peel off between them and the standard healers, the standard counselors. And by that, what I mean is they're beginning to have a completely different perception, and they're beginning to become very, very vocal in relation to their clients and other people who are contacting them for things that they can sort out themselves. And that to me demonstrates a peel off of a different perception of a higher level, because what people need to realize is that they are responsible for themselves. And yes, there are there people to help, and there are there for people to guide, but you have to take responsibility and move yourself forward. And you can't always rely on other people just because you have an access to their email or their telephone number or their Facebook Messenger to say, oh, I've just seen this, what does it mean? Well, look into it for yourself. You can find the answer in 2 or 3 minutes. You know,
Well, that's a theme. That's been a theme for me and a lot of other people in the last 2 years, because people literally go in the Telegram group. People say stuff like, "Where is Manchester?" I'm like, "Go on Google and have a look."
Exactly.
Or .go, whatever. You know, and it's like the whole thing's been about learn how to do it yourself.
Yes.
Because we are literally like children.
Yes.
We
do. We do. And the things that can be done by yourself, do yourself, because we need to become self-reliant. We really do need to become self-reliant in the things that are coming. And it's nice to have support, which you will always have. It is nice to have these networks in which to get that support, which you will always have. There'll always be people who run these things. There'll always be people there who are there to help and support. But don't always rely on them to be there. Rely on yourself. And I am you know, seeing that happen more and more.
Yeah. Same here. And sovereignty and togetherness are the two driving things for me, apart from the children, keep me going. And this is why I've just agreed to go on the Truth Tour in America, because I interviewed Lewis Herms last week, who's an amazing guy who sees the same thing and is trying to bring people together from all multidisciplines and get over their differences and just search out the truth in a live event scenario, 19 cities across the US in 30 days. So that's, you know, that's why I'm going, because I think it's so important that we take action towards this new future of sovereignty and self-reliance and spread that message, because that's what people need to start taking on board. Going back to the dates, though, that you said earlier, what came to mind for me was quantum physics. The one thing I learned about quantum physics years ago is that when you observe it, it changes the outcome. And if you observe something, it literally changes it just by observing it. So we are powerful manifestors, okay? So it's, in a way, it's good to aim for something. But I do respect Jetson's work, but I do find it strange that people are still doing the date thing, because it's just everybody that's done it has had egg on their face for the last couple of years.
Yeah. And they will continue to do so, because it's not for us to decide the dates of things. Yes, and when you look at the so-called way in which the universe is, it's observation, and things are supposedly observed into physicality, into manifestation, you know, and you have the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which is collapsing the wave into a physical sense. Now, a lot of the things a lot of the problems with science data is that they're probably observing the data that they want. They're not actually observing the true data. So that they're creating conditions where they're observing something, but it's their observation that is making the things act the way in which they do, which is then giving them a false data. It is because when anybody looks at something, then they send photons out which rebound off that which is observed. So that which is being observed knows that it's being observed, and it acts differently. If I'm out there singing and dancing in the garden thinking there's just me, and I look up and Edith, who lives next door, is looking through the bedroom window, I suddenly start to change and start to behave differently because I'm under observation. So a lot of the things that we are coming up with now are false data because we're making the things behave differently, not in a natural way. So I've always sort of veered away from giving dates because inevitably it is egg on the face. Just know that things are coming. Just know that things will be put right. And whether that's the 3rd of September or the 14th of July, that is not for us to decide. It will happen when it happens. But I do think that you can build up people, you can build them up with an excited expectation, and then when it doesn't happen, they're completely deflated. And you know that really is almost part of the negative agenda.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I try to stay away from that because of that reason. You reminded me there of you guys watching this. If you've never heard of Rupert Sheldrake, go and have a look at him and look at the way that he tells the story of how he went to one of the scientific royal societies to discuss their viewpoint. I think it was on the speed of light, and the way he tells the story about how he got absolutely nowhere and realized it was, you know, they published a figure and they can't change it, even though it's changing all the time. And this is why I ended up walking out of my physics A level, because the teacher just wouldn't accept my questioning because it wasn't in the textbook. So I've always been a bit annoying like that. But people watching this, they hear me say really good things are coming. You want to paint that picture? What do you see?
What do I see? I see a change. I see the re-emergence of ancient knowledge, which has already started. I see a change in timeline for many people. I've noticed for a while the separation between those who are getting it and those who are not. And that for me is what was phrased many years ago as a consciousness shift. And that consciousness shift for me are those, as I say, who are getting it and those who aren't. Now, those who are getting it will have a different reality. Those who are not getting it may need to be stored in a reality until they do. Some people, you know, have sensed a lot more harsh consequences than that. However, I see a future where there will be the true bearers of knowledge, the flame bearers of knowledge, and I do see a different timeline. I do see different dimensions for humanity, because what has happened, putting it in extremely simplistic terms, universal creation is vector space, rotating vectors which create sine waves, which are sound waves, and sound waves converge into many different shapes and forms. So the universal creation is sound. Humanity is out of tune. So we become a really disharmonious static, and we are the wrong side of the octave line, and we are so far down the wrong end of the scale of the musical notes that the creative force can't act directly when you're that far away because the signal is too weak. In the same vein as when I've spoken to friends of mine who are light aircraft pilots, they turn around and say that when they're going towards a particular place and there's a radio station that's getting louder and louder and clearer, they know that they're heading towards a radio mast, and they know that they're going in the right direction. If that signal is becoming crackly and more distant and more distant and more distant, they're going the wrong way. And that's what humanity has done. It's become out of tune and it's gone too far away from the mast. So it needs a booster signal to reconnect it to the higher octaves. And I see many, many people reconnecting to these higher octaves who are starting to get it. And that doesn't mean the infighters between ufology and New Age and Christianity and Islam. Those are the people, those are not getting it. the people who are getting it are the ones who look at things with a spiritual maturity and say, like I can, there are 4,200 recorded registered religions in this world as of today, and all of them are telling you that they are correct, and that all of the others are not, and they are arguing over lies. So instead of arguing over lies, look at the epicenter of all of those religions, because they're all saying the same things. So wouldn't things be better if you were all to concentrate on what could unify you rather than what separates you? Because I know I could connect all of those religions with one word. So why can't they? And when you have a spiritual maturity of that level, then you become the flame bearers of knowledge, and it becomes a different reality for you. And that is what I see happening.
Yeah, well, I've been reacquainted with spiritual arrogance recently, and which is something I thought I'd managed to move away from. And it led me to thinking about, well, there's a lot of people out there that are meditating every day, and they're downloading information. And I've seen this many, many times, but the information is not coming from the true source, in my opinion. And yeah, what do you think about that? People are channeling stuff from different timelines, different dimensions, different uh, different entities pretending to be something else. I've seen that so many times.
Yeah,
Um,
I absolutely know for a fact that that's what is happening. I've had my own personal experiences when I wrote about my own awakening for a magazine, which involved me going back, as I've discussed before, 159 years in what you deem to be time, which is really just a parallel event, but which is still ongoing. But nevertheless, I went back in time, in years, in dates, 159 years. Now, I wrote this for a magazine, spiritual magazine, and they said, well, we work with this fantastic spiritual artist, and what we'll do as part of the story is we'll get her to go into this house that you
I
live in.
love this.
Yeah, and basically she will draw this character for you. And I said, okay, well, here's the book. Read the story first. Make sure she has the information that she needs. So she does it, and we get sent a picture by her. And I said, that's not her. And she said, yes, it is. I have my guides. I have my protection. That is the girl. And I said, it is not. It is not the girl. And we had this to-ing and fro-ing, and yes, I know, because I've done this and I've done it for years. To cut a long story short, it wasn't the girl. It was an entity who had given an appearance, and the spiritual artist had believed the appearance, had believed the deception, and it was quite a negative entity that gave her a lot of grief after that, and
Yeah.
to such an extent that she wrote, trying to blame me for that. And I just basically put a few things right, and she basically just disappeared and I don't think ever worked for the magazine again. And there's so many different examples such as that you can give. But the thing is, it doesn't matter how good you think you are not better than the best deceivers of the astral plane, because they're good. They're good. And it doesn't matter how much protection or guides or light you put around yourself. Your wall is only as strong as its weakest point. And you do need to shift away that arrogance and accept the fact that a lot of the time we've been duped. And that includes me, that includes everybody. We've been duped.
Yeah.
And that's how we learn.
Exactly. I mean, I felt like I have been attacked enormously. I got an email off somebody the other day saying she didn't respect me. And I was like, I've had loads of things like this on Telegram and stuff. And I've just been like, what the fuck? I'm doing my best here. And, I was on the phone this morning saying to somebody, the true story for people like me in the last 2 years is what we've managed to get through to get onto this microphone to do this, because all the stuff in the background has been very difficult. It's been very difficult to keep going, and all the attacks. I'm not just talking about car fuel lines being cut, PayPal accounts being closed. I'm not talking about all that online stuff. And this weird shit happens every day almost. Like Google suddenly stops working, and then this account stops working, and I can't get into that. It's just all that stuff is easy. But you know, there's physical things as well. But it's the spiritual battle that I feel like I'm the guy that throws himself in front of the bus just to get up and take that, so that I can go back and tell everybody else there's a big bus there, and this is what happens if you get run over, right? Because I feel like I've been getting stronger and stronger, but I still know what my weak points are, and they still know how to get in, and I know when they do it, and it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and it is, everything's just a lesson. It's this, and I've been quoting you now for months about this life being an initiation ceremony, and it's good, and then you can start to enjoy it, because
You
I
can.
do enjoy it. It is hard, but I do enjoy it.
It's extremely hard because there are people throughout history that have been the ones to stand there and say, actually, this is not how it is. And whether you're Galileo facing the Vatican saying, actually, I think everything revolves around the sun, but because that didn't fit with their scripture, there's consequences to that. That there's always people who are brave enough to be the ones that put themselves forward to say things are not right, and you will get attacked. You'll get attacked in a technological sense. Sometimes your car won't start when there's nothing wrong with it because you need to get to an important appointment, which happened to me just last week, ironically. Yeah. But it didn't stop me, so I got on the train and went by train. But it tried to stop me, and there's actually nothing wrong with my car. But there was on that particular moment when I was going to the studio. And, there's been times when I've been trying to log on to conferences and the buttons that are there are not there anymore. And they've simply disappeared, or my emails have been taken and replaced, or there's been taps put on my phone and landlines. But there's always people that will put themselves forward because they have a passion for humanity, and they have a passion that humanity is a slave race and it needs to stop. And you will always be attacked for doing that, whether it's verbally, the amount of, sometimes not necessarily on your channel, but on other channels, when I've had these kind of conversations where people have come on and said, you're wrong, you're completely wrong, this is right. Okay, well then you come on and sit where I'm sitting, and you come and do this lecture. I've had people say, oh, you're just in it for the money, you charge for your talks. Well, do you know it actually costs money to hire these places? And I said to them, tell you what then, set yourself up a free talk and send me a ticket and I'll be in the front row. And I never heard back from them. So unfortunately, it's part of the thing where those who actually put themselves forward and those who are the first to put their head above the trench are the ones that get shot at. And the ones who are happy just to be keyboard warriors and actually contribute nothing other than attacking people who are trying to do it. If you're not going to do it yourself, then leave the ones who are doing it to do it.
Yeah, you'd hope so. And everybody's playing a part in this, right? It's not just about who's stood up online to talk about stuff. Everybody's playing a part of this in their own personal journey. And it seems to me that there are lots of thought leaders and influencers within the truth type scenario, whether they be spiritual or about money or whatever aspect they specialize in, who are just eating. I put it in a poem that the truth is ate each other. Like I wrote that over a year ago, because I could see it coming. But it's actually a really good thing, because it's all about you guys watching, just finding have no gurus. I've been saying this since the beginning. There are no gurus. You're the guru that you're looking for. You just got to tap into it and put the work in. Michael here has studied this stuff and put the work in and had all these experiences, and then start piecing it all together himself, was what I'm trying to do as well. And that's what we've all got to do. But don't rely upon anybody, not one single person. And, but then what happens is, say somebody likes this personality a lot, and then somebody else says something bad about them, then they go, right, well, I'm ignoring them forever, and I'm just going to stick with this and stick by that, which is kind of human nature, isn't it? To stand by somebody that you feel loyal to. But the loyalty has to be to you and your connection to God, because that is what this is all about.
Well, the thing is, I'm trying to help people, and I'm trying to give people keys, and I'm trying to give people information that will help them on that journey. But I can't get them to God, only they can. The Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says He calls you to God. He calls you to Him. It doesn't say that he calls you to get Edith and Bernie and get them to God. That's for them to do. But you can, of course, you can help them along the way, and you can try and make sense of what's going on, and you can try and do things. But gurus, true gurus, do not want to be seen as gurus. True masters do not want to be followed as masters, because they realize that they are a channel for the information, and as quick as they become a channel, as quick as they can be not a channel. And you see it, yeah, we do see it as that kind of thing, and perhaps we shouldn't, you know. And again, sometimes within the truth movement, I do cringe a lot, but I don't get involved because I see that as being dragged into an extreme polarity. And there's another example many years ago now, where I went into Birmingham city centre to film a short video about advertisements, and everywhere you go, there's all of these bombardments of advertisements into your head. And advertisement is really to entice adversity into the mind. That's what advertisement is. So the very theme of it was, look, another advert, as I'm filming this, as people coming and giving me leaflets, the people standing there in the middle of the highway with billboards attached to them, and it's all about adverts. So I did this film in Birmingham city centre, and I thought, because it's about adverts, you know, and I'm just walking around, I'm going to have some background music. And there's a song that had been out in that kind of era by Robbie Williams, where he mentions advertising space. And because it was all about adverts and advertising space, I put that on as the background music. And David Icke got hold of it and put it onto his newsletters. Now, of course, within hours, there was thousands upon thousands of views on this video. Now, bearing in mind that you would expect his audience to be of the truth, to be at a certain level because of who they follow. Again, that word follow. But however, it became a mass brawl of an argument on his forum. And what was the argument about? Whether or not Robbie Williams was good as an artist. So you had this massive divide of truthers now arguing over Robbie Williams, completely missing the whole ethos of the video and what it was talking about. You know, yeah. Robbie Williams is this, Robbie Williams is that. I think he's fantastic. I think he's rubbish. And for days and days and days, you had many people arguing about Robbie Williams. These are not truthers. These are not bearers of knowledge. You know, they just think they are. And they completely missed the whole meaning of what I was saying. So, like I say, and I say it for the fourth time, you know, we need to get a grip. We really do.
We do. I think we are getting a grip.
I see positive signs.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing, again, it always seems to me to be the divide. So again, you have those who are yet to come into the understanding. You have those who have come into the understanding who think, because they're part of certain groups, have sussed it. No one sussed it. No one will ever suss it, but they believe that they have. Then you have the ones who are starting to break away from that, who are sussing it more than those who think they've got a complete sussing of what's going on. And what I'm seeing again is the divide and the peel off, and people who are now, just imagine it's like a multi-story building, and you have the basement where you have the ones who are yet to get it. Then on the first floor, you have the ones who are starting to get it. Then on the second floor, you have the ones who are starting to get it more. And then on the third floor, there's very, very few people on the third floor, but they are basically a peel-off who are getting it more than anybody else. And that's how I'm kind of seeing things. But with any multi-story building, there's always access up or there's always access down. But I am seeing, as I say, when I speak to healers and counsellors and different people who are now starting to question, why are my clients contacting me to ask me this? Because this is something that they could actually find out themselves within minutes. In the time they've emailed me, they could have found out the answer themselves. And I'm starting to get that from almost now a higher level of the disciplines. and they're the peel off. They're separating themselves from the standard healers who believe that they are the ones that are hitting their clients, but yet their clients have to keep coming back to them week after week after week, not realizing that it's actually the clients who have to be ready to be healed, who want to be healed, and the healer is amplifying that free will and that desire.
Yeah, because the healers are really, those kind of healers are just doing exactly the same what Farmer does, just creates a regular repeat business.
Yes.
Yeah, with a real healer would just want you to not have to see them again.
If someone turns around to me and says, I'm a Reiki master, and I'll say, okay, what does the word master mean?
Yeah.
And they don't know. Master actually means measurer of stars. So you're actually going into astronomy and astrology. So, and then you say, okay, you have a certificate from somebody else who claims to be a Reiki master to say that you are now a Reiki master. Who are they to tell you you are a Reiki master? And if you are a master, as you just said, you would see your client once and then they would be healed. They wouldn't need to keep coming back. The very fact that they need to keep coming back demonstrates that you are not a master. And it then becomes, well, I've got a certificate. Well, I've got a GCSE in English, a certificate, but it doesn't mean to say that I'm Shakespeare, you know. And again, we have to start realizing that certificates and different things are just don't cut it anymore, and more people are starting to see that.
Yeah.
You know, whereas in the past, someone says I'm a Reiki master, and I'm not attacking Reiki healers. You know, there's some genuine good ones, but what I'm saying is a lot of people are business people who have seen an opportunity within the spiritual arena,
Yeah.
and they are saying, I now declare you a Reiki master or whatever, but who are you to do that? Really?
Well, I had a private conversation with Dr. Christine Northrup. Have you heard of her?
Yes.
About 6 months ago, and she said on the call, 80%. I think she said 80% of her colleagues in the natural healing space had that,
Yes.
which told its own story.
Yeah. I've been in many spiritual arenas, so-called spiritual arenas, where I've seen firsthand how they are business people who have put themselves in the spiritual arena because they've seen an opportunity for business. And of course, in this world that we live in at the moment, this current reality, yes, we need money to buy things, to pay for things that everybody else gets for free because it's free energy. But we're the only enslaved race to pay for anything that is abundantly free in the universe, but we pay for it. But I have been in that arena and I have seen that, and I have actually spoken to friends of mine who are good healers who have been in agreement that unless the client wishes to be healed, they will not be healed. And if they do wish to be healed, then the healer is amplifying that wish. So they're really healing themselves with the assistance from the outside. And until the two component parts get that, there'll be a continuous cycle. And it really is now time, and I don't mean to come across as being detrimental to anyone or any belief system, but it is now time for us to start an semblance of order and start to realize what we are and what we can be and what we have been, and return to that state of all knowing, all potential, but to be self-reliant and take yourself forward, because that is really where the key is. You are the key. You know, you are your own key. You find the keyhole. That is the doorway to a greater place, but it is you that takes you there.
Ooh. Go back to vibration. Before, I don't know if I did this before or after we last spoke, but I did this dragon riding with Huna Flash in Gori, which is an ancient Lemurian sounds, vibrations, codes. And I put some of these into a poem. Ha, ma, ka, wa, ta, he, you know, and Even as I just did it, I got a thing because it was really powerful. And you go across these letters and sounds, and you ride it, so you can go up and down, the male and the female, and it's like, I think 2 years ago, if I'd have seen that, I'd have gone, well, "What's this about?" But it was a really profound experience, and the actual sounds that you make. I'm just going back to your vibrational stuff that you were talking about at the beginning. And I told you before this show that I find it amusing. When I first met Huna and learnt some of these words and what they mean, Ma means first light. And then I realized my name was Mark. My initials are MA. I lived in Manchester in Markington Street. I work in marketing. I moved to Marrakesh. The real name of Morocco is Maghreb. It's like, what the, and you know, now I'm going back to Manchester to do this live event. And it's like, it's just, you know, it's a matrix, right?
It is. You see, when the Bible says that we come from dust and we return to dust, dust in Hebrew is light. So in other words, we come from light and we return to light because we are condensed light. But dimensions are units of sound and light. And when you look at chants, when you look at words, when you look at letters, when you look at the way in which they're professed, you know, sound from the voice is really vocal folds, and it relates to airflow. So depending upon the airflow interruption depends upon the pitch of your voice. So you can have multiple frequencies at once. So when you are emitting these chants, these frequencies, that's exactly what you are doing. You are emitting frequencies. Now, the whole of the universe is sound. In the beginning was the word.
The word.
And word is an ordered sequence of letters. It is a sound wave.
Yeah.
So, you know, the masters, the true masters of sound realize this, and they're able to use their voice for multiple tonal wills, for multiple voice harmonics. They were activating the Stonehenges, the pyramids, the different things. And we do the same, you know, in everyday words. You see, we have the likes of pi, which is really a connection between mathematics and the physical world. The first three numbers of pi relate to the third dimension in which we live. The first four numbers of phi relate to the fourth dimension, etc., etc. But pi is also to do musical intervals, and you can actually play pi. I've heard pi and phi and Fibonacci being played on the piano. It is all sound, and mathematics is also sound. Numbers are sound converged. Letters are sound converged. When you look at the Hebrew alphabet, it's very tonal. All of these things are sound. Yep. And when you match a certain frequency of something, you begin to unlock doors. You begin to activate certain ancient spiritual design buildings. You begin to ride on the crest of musical waves, because that's what we're doing. And then there's, of course, letters and numbers as a communication that can be added in between sound waves and be transmitted as a sentence, as a paragraph, as a scripture, which is what is happening in the likes of crop circles. And so when you put two sound waves together, it is really an additive synthesis. Now, if you put those two sound waves closer together, it becomes a higher frequency. But you can actually insert a language and a communication in between the sound waves. So sound really is a wonderful thing. It is a sonic. It is sun. It is stone, which means father and son. And these stones have light beams inside them. And on our timeline, they appear to be static. On other timelines, they move because they have beams inside them. And that is stone, father and son. Sun, sonic, resonance, sound, sun. So sound is really the essence of the creation of this universe and others.
Yeah, I can't wait. You know, have you ever seen Michael Tellinger ringing those bells shaped like ice cream cones?
Yes. Yeah.
I remember watching that about 10 years ago, and then it all dawned on me. And it came to me without me reading it. In the beginning was the word. I was like, that's a sound wave.
Yes, it is.
But and my voice has been attacked the last, you can tell. I've hardly been able to speak for 3 weeks, which is really interesting because they've just tried to, I've been shut down. You know, YouTube blocked me, the voice went. It's hilarious, really. When people watch this sort of show, they often, hopefully they feel uplifted and inspired, and they start to look at themselves and start to take more responsibility for themselves, and realize that they're the creators of their own universe. But they always ask questions like, well, what can I do today? And I know the answer is meditation, and I know the answer is following your intuition. But have you got any tools that you give people to help them through this process? Because the other thing is, Mike, I don't know if you're feeling this, but this ascension process is causing physical issues for people. That might be the reason why this might not be an attack. It might just be like physical changing, things like that. Where do you stand on all of that stuff? And what can you give people to help them along this week?
When you start to feel physical things as a result, you are pretty much changing your own tuning.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the likes again of the word initiation, what is initiation? And I've said it in previous parts, but for those who didn't see it, initiation is really the expansion of your own vessel in order to be able to tolerate and cope with undiluted higher frequency.
Yeah.
So when you start to feel physical things, it's because you are raising your frequency, but your body is not quite up to speed with the frequency, and it's beginning to make you ache or feel different things. And that is really what is happening as a physical sense. Anything normally that happens in a physical way is a result of some kind of spiritual vibration. So for argument's sake, if something happens and I really feel the need that I must say something and get it off my chest, and I don't, and I do that time and time again, I'm guaranteeing that I will have some kind of throat problem, because you're having spiritual energy that needs to express itself that's been denied that right, and that will then come into some kind of physical problem with the throat, in the same in many other aspects of the body. So they are basically feeling a raise or change in a vibration, temporarily or otherwise, but the body is feeling the ache and pain of that because it's not quite up to speed with the change. In terms of what can people do, it really depends on what they want to do. I mean, many people have said that, I want to live the spiritual life, and I've said to them, well, define what a spiritual life is. And because they couldn't define it, how can they ever know whether or not they're living it? Because you have to define it. If it depends really on what people want to do. If they want to raise their vibrations, you need to stop getting dragged into arguments. You need to stop getting dragged into extreme polarity and all of these arguments that we've spoken about with other groups who there's no need for that. You remain at a neutral place, and then that stops you getting dragged into the quicksand and stops you reducing that vibration. You arm yourself with knowledge. You find out as much as you can, which is validated knowledge, which becomes wisdom. And if you can validate it and you're satisfied that it is true, then you begin to raise your vibration. You surround yourself with people who make you happy. You surround yourself with people who keep you at a high vibration. You do things that make you happy. You do things that make you laugh. You do things that brings fun into your life, and that raises your vibration.
Like coming to the show in Manchester, that'd do it.
I couldn't think of a better platform. But if you go into that kind of environment where it's buzzing, where people are excited, where people are happy, where people are joyful, where they're happy to be there, in a building that is suitable because it is made for vibrations and all of these different things, then you're really having 2 + 2 = 4. It is as simple as that. So do the things and surround yourself with people who make you happy. Do the things that make you happy, and that will raise your vibration if that's what you want to do. Arm yourself with knowledge. Do meditation if that suits you. Do breath techniques if that suits you. Go and have a walk through the forest. Go and have a walk through nature, because that also helps. But it's important not to do the things or get dragged too much into the things where people are trying to grab your legs as you're raising up, because social media is a den of vipers. It really is. And you can be arguing for 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 days over a post, and then you think at the end of it, what was the point in that? How many things could I have done in that week that I didn't do because I was being attacked for a comment? Well, then use your delete button, avoid it, and just do sensible things that keep you at the highest level you can be at, and that will serve you well.
Yeah, I've tried to stay at what I call my 0 point place whenever I've been involved in friction, and I've just sometimes you just got to be really harsh, and you've just got to cut people if they are affecting you badly. You just got to cut them and
Yeah.
move along. But here's a little tip: if you are in the middle of an argument, I learned this from Stuart Wilde years ago, and I'd learned he wrote in one of his books, I think, The Infinite Self, that he was negotiating a contract. He was in the jeans business in his early 20s, and he was in this negotiation, and it was getting heated. So he just laid down on the floor between these two people, and they came out of a really good deal a matter of minutes later. And a few years later, I'd moved to Marrakesh, and our stuff got kept in customs for like 4 or 5 weeks, I think. So we had a house, but no furniture. And it was a nightmare. It was 50 degrees as well. And it was all, it was a building site. The furniture finally arrived, and these guys came out, and they emptied everything in, and they left the piano and a big sofa in the back. And they said they wanted 2,000 euros more just to remove those two things. And my wife at the time went ballistic at them and started shouting and screaming. And they're all screaming in Arabic, which always sounds more violent than any other language when they're shouting. And I thought, this is an opportunity for me to try this out. So I got down on some cardboard and I just laid down between them all. And they didn't even look at me. But 20 minutes later, they were taking the piano and the sofa into the house without arguing or fighting or asking for any more money. I was like, that's interesting. This works.
You're changing the dynamics. You're changing the energy. You're changing the focus on things. And sometimes you have to take a higher level approach to the problem, because, as it was once said, you're not going to solve the problem with the same level of consciousness that's creating it. You sometimes have to take the higher ground and take responsibility to do that. And it is a good tip to use the block, to use the unfriend, to use all of these different tools. You don't have to argue with anybody, because you have the right to say what you want to say, and they have the right to say what they want to say. And if you're being attacked when you're saying what you want to say, then just pass them by and don't get dragged into it.
My Telegram channel has been interesting the last few weeks, because I have got sucked into a couple of arguments, and then I've gone, what are you doing? And one of the reasons why I do that is because I think they've just missed the point, and I want to straighten them out. And also I have compassion for them. I don't want to just kick them off my channel. But then somebody said, is this not an open platform to voice my opinions? And I was like, no, it's my channel. It's my house. Yep. You come around my house, start slagging me off, I'm going to kick you out.
Of course you are.
Now, fuck off.
Now, the simple thing is, we'll go onto your own platform and do it, not mine. Exactly. Because, like you say, that this is my channel for people who want to listen to what I have to say. And there's ways to disagree and agree. Yeah. And to come on and attack someone for saying what they want to say on their channel crosses the line.
Well, start your own channel and start interviewing people so that you can explore these subjects in an intelligent, mature way, so that we all become wiser.
Yes,
that's the way.
That's what I said at the beginning. If you attack me for what I say, well, then contact the host and get yourself on it and be interviewed and enlighten us all.
Yeah,
but you won't. I know you won't.
Yeah, put the effort in. It's actually quite a big effort.
Yes, it is.
Doing live shows in Manchester is quite a big effort.
Well, a lot of people don't realise that the amount of effort that does go into this, and to say the things that have been said in the last 5 parts, to have the platform in which to say these things in the last 5 parts, has taken a long time. And I've been spending a large proportion of my life that I will not get back for the last 14 odd years to get myself to a place where I'm satisfied I have got the gist.
Yeah.
And with every day, I always learn something else to get added to that gist. But I think I have an overall gist as to what's going on. And it takes a long time, and sometimes, spending hours upon hours looking into things, getting up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, or not even going to bed to do a radio show in America, and all of those different things. It doesn't come cheap. It doesn't come easy. And people are welcome to come and do that and try it if they wish.
Well, I made a whole course on it. how to, if you're
Mm.
new to this, click the link below, how to monetize what's in your head. Go, and this is another thing, you know, like I got attacked the other day for earning money, and I was like, I employ 3 people to do this channel. This channel has
Mm.
taken over my life. I have a business that's completely on hold over for 2 years. What do you expect me to do? You know, but it's all voluntary. You know, we're charging money for the event in Manchester, but I spoke to the venue, and I was, you know, I wanted to charge $30, but they said that's too low because you've got all these costs. So I was like, okay, I'll put it up to 50. But you know, other events that I've seen couldn't, like this, with such a lineup of people, could easily cost £1,000, £2,000 for
Mm.
the day. But you know, I've said pay whatever you can above $50 because I don't want anybody to not be able to come, because I think everybody can
No,
afford that. But there is a value. There's a value attached to these things. And we are in the black magic money system. I've said this many, many times, but we still have to feed our families. We still have to live, and and I believe everybody has the ability to be completely abundant, so that you have as many choices as you possibly want in life. And
mm.
because that's the game, they're the rules of the game that we're currently in.
It is, and it's absolutely right. You know, why your information, your know-how, it does have a value, and you've put a value upon your hard work, and that value is whatever you want it to be. And if people don't want to subscribe to that, then that is their choice. But
Yeah.
you have put, you know, the people who attack you for earning money, what is their occupation? What do they do? You know, if they're electricians or plumbers, I guarantee if I was to contact them and say, can you come out on a Sunday because my boiler's leaking, I'm sure they'd say, yes, I'll give up my time for free for you. Not.
Well, I think they get paid to sit there doing this. But anyway.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I've uncovered a few of them for doing it, and they've disappeared. So yes, there are a lot of trolls that are paid to attack and cause disruption. Uh,
I'm
but no,
going to answer your question here because I wrote this down right at the beginning. That's okay. So it has nothing to do with what we've just been talking about, but it does go back to the beginning. And the reason why I asked this is because there's been a bit of debate around this recently, and that is Enki and Enlil. Because there's been some debate. Two quite well-known people in this movement are going, one saying, well, I've met one and it's not the one you think, and the other one's going, no, it's this one. Is that? And they're literally arguing about which one's the good one, which one's the bad one. What does Michael think?
what does Michael think? It is a metaphor for double helix of DNA. The Shetty, the Snake brothers, the positive and the negative serpent, which are the two helixes of DNA. When you and the reason I say that is when you look at the meanings of some of the other characters around it, it is not in isolation. When you look at Alalu, who was one of the prominent Sumerian scroll characters, Alalu means wave genetics. When you look at Anu, it means man in Egyptian. So you have you have Adamu and Tiamat in Eridu, which relates to Adam and Eve in Eden. So for me, the way in which the Anunnaki story is presented to us, again, is a metaphorical story that Zecharia Sitchin interpreted at a literal level. The same as people are interpreting the Bible as a literal level and believe that Noah, who was 120 years old at the time, built a wooden ark for every single animal, insect species of the world. Now, it is a children's story. So when you look at the Sumerian, I'm the first to acknowledge that there's multiple different races of extraterrestrials out there. I've seen some of them. You know, I've seen a lot of their craft. I know they're there. I know that interdimensional travelers coming in and out.
Should have seen the one I saw last night.
Really?
I'll tell you about it.
Yeah, but my opinion is Enki and Enlil relate to DNA.
So they're not actual living creatures.
In my opinion, no. But again, I also acknowledge that there are extraterrestrial races. And I do acknowledge that there's lots and lots of people that are a firm believer of the Sumerian story. But when I have analysed the individual characters and the story overall, I've come to the conclusion that it is talking about human genetic potential. And those are the giants that sit amongst the little people. Those are the gods on Mount Olympus. that tower over the Greeks. It is the same meaning, because a giant in that perspective means those of a greater than average insight and knowledge. And that is what we need to attain to be the walking gods. And that is putting the whole of the story together rather than just two individual characters of the story. So I do think, you know, when you start looking at Nibiru, well, the boat inside the Great Pyramid is Nibiru, because Nibiru means ferryman. So anybody who's familiar with Greek myth, and you have Charon and the river Styx taking the souls over the river, when you look at that in Egypt, it is the boat of Khufu inside the Great Pyramid, the ferryman, which takes the souls across the Duet, which is the region of sky of Orion and Sirius. So that is your Nibiru. It means ferryman, as in cheating the ferryman, as in Charon and the Styx and the boat of Khufu. So when you start analysing the different component parts of this, and you start finding gigantic holes in the story, then it brings to question.
Well, we've come to the end. We've come to the end of time. Whoa, what's going on here? We've come to the end. We've come to the end of the hour, but you started breaking up there, and then the whole thing just went off. It's like,
right?
Did we say something they don't like?
We always do. we always do. And now you're frozen.
Did you see that?
I didn't, but you're completely frozen now and pixelated.
That was so weird. What just happened? Well,
so that means someone somewhere is upset.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering whether I should put this on YouTube or not. Anyway, it's been great. Yeah. Looking forward to meeting you in Manchester. I'm going to be away quite a bit between now and then, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great day in Manchester. I can't wait. You guys watching this, if you want to see Michael live and me and all the other people on there, please go and get a ticket. It'd be great to see you all. It's going to be an amazing day. Thanks a lot for your time, Michael. Could talk to you about that for hours, but it's good to leave a little bit of a cliffhanger. I'll see you soon.
Thank you again. You take care.